Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. We're glad you decided to check us out. God has a specific message of hope for your life and mine today. So listen up.
I want to say a word of thanks to Katie. As you know, this is going to be Katie's last Sunday as our worship leader. She's still going to be on the team and stuff, but, you know, God's been leading us in a different direction on stuff. Of course, she's been the interim tag for 4 years, getting close to 5, I think. No, 4 years. And then originally when Katie came on after Randy left, it was going to be like, hey, 6 months. If you can just handle it for 6 months. And then here we are 4 years later. But praise the Lord, we waited. Jason Canojo, who's in the back there, raise your hand back there. He is actually going to be taking over next week. He was supposed to be playing this morning, but, you know, the Lord, sometimes things come into your life. Actually, on Wednesday, driving with his son to get some breakfast, he had some problems with his heart and ended up in the hospital on the 4th of July for a stay through Friday. And next week, so we're glad that you're up and out. He texted me on Thursday. He's like, I didn't want to tell you because I was hoping that I'd get out in time to come back to rehearsal and so I could play on Thursday night. But that was not God's plan for this week. But Jason, we're glad you're restored to health, man. We're glad you're back with us, and we're looking forward to hearing you next week as our leader. Oh. I stole a surprise. I did it. Oh, I did it.
We didn't want you to have to do this for your wife, nor did we ask you because we wanted it to be a surprise. But Katie, if you would come up for just a minute. We are so thankful for you.
Yep.
And we have... we have some flowers for you.
Cool.
And we have a gift card for dinner at the Chart House for you and your favorite pastor.
Whoa.
There will be a straw poll today. Steve and I are still hoping we have a chance there. Jim already said this, but I want to say it from a different perspective. I want to thank you for worshiping God first, for letting us watch your love for God as you lead us. It makes such a difference to know that you love him and that you're praising him and worshiping him and that the words that come out of your mouth are your heart's cry to God. Thank you for drawing us into his presence. Thank you for giving it your all. Thank you for serving sacrificially. And I know I'm so thankful you're still going to be here and still be on the team. But just know that all of us love you and appreciate you so much. God bless you.
Thanks, Bruce, man. I love Bruce. I love his conscientiousness and way to think of everything and be so ready on stuff. Thank you so much, man. And thank all of you guys for the way you follow my wife and you trust my wife and your love for us and our family is appreciative. I appreciate it all the time. I tell you, it's interesting. We come to the series that obviously we're starting today, Outrageous. And I was telling the worship team this morning, I've had more chances or opportunities to become angry in the past 4 days than I've probably had in the past 4 months. I'm serious, and it's amazing, and it comes from all different types of things. I mean, from things that, are said about my family. We're in this political race with her running for school board, and sometimes people say things that are unkind, and you see that, and you want to respond, and you don't, because the Lord said, I'll defend you. That's my job, so we leave that to the Lord. Or it might be something technology. Has anybody got mad at a computer about something that wouldn't work? Computers always work for you, right? They're perfect for all you guys. For me, not so much. I'm yesterday trying to deal with something about Facebook, and I'm trying to deal with that. I spent hours on that, and I was sitting there, and my son, we're rewatching the Cleveland Cavs Summer League game. Yes, we are junkies that way. And, he's watching it, and I am trying to work on the computer. And after about an hour of working on this computer and it not working, I literally just was like, You know, and I'm sitting here preaching on anger, stop it. You know, and I'm sitting here. It's amazing. From every turn, so many different situations and opportunities. You know, the truth is it's hard to go very far in our lives without finding something that we could be upset or angry about, isn't it? Or to see the effects of anger, some sort of rage. I mean, you know, if you go online, you see all kinds of outrage. My goodness, it's like every other article is about someone being mistreated and being angry about that to straighten it out. You know, if you go on the road, it's road rage. You can't even ride down Minton, you know, about somebody who's just not getting there quite fast enough and you're just in their way. You know, you can't get very far from that. And they're just, you know, the veins are popping out as they speed past you, you know, and you're, you know, doing their best Vin Diesel, whoop, 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 back and forth, you know, fast and furious up and down the road. You know, it's amazing. Everybody seems to be so angry about something. How many people this week either felt the need to get angry or saw someone that was angry this week? Yeah, starting to see all over the place. It seems to be you get past the TV, somebody's being upset. Lord help you if you watch the news. Lord help you if you're a political junkie and you keep up with that. Oh my goodness, man, I've got a cousin and he is like, dude, he is just all up in this political stuff. And I just have to snooze him like on Facebook every couple of weeks, you know, because like, man, you know, you're just so angry. So angry. I'm like, I don't even know how you live, and you haven't had a heart attack by this point. How do you live like that? It seems people, whether it's from something mild or it's being angry at the ref on TV, but anger can start really small, but when it progresses farther, it can intrude on all kinds of things. It can intrude into your important relationships like your marriage, you know, or it can end relationships like with your job. You go off on your boss, and then all of a sudden it's over. You know, I mean, I've heard it said that you can't get anything done by being nice and working hard. You have to get mad, and you have to let people have it to make something work. And I just don't think it's meant to be that way. I've heard it said that you do what you believe, and the rest is just talk. And if you look at our culture, I think a lot of people think that statement I just said, the way to get things done is to get angry. You know, maybe you've dealt with customer service or somebody sent you a defective product and you've had to call someone and it's not been kind. I tell you right now, you know, there are loads of situations where you deal with people in this impersonal society that we've created, and people say things online or on a phone or in an email that they would never say to someone's face. Have you noticed that? You know, and it comes from a situation of anger. You know, we'll be looking at a lot of things about anger over the next coming weeks. You know, next week we're going to be looking at, you know, our words and how do we deal with angry words. Not how do we deal with the ones that we feel that we want to change. How do we deal when angry words come at us? How do we deal with those things? And next week we'll be talking about the solution to anger. You know, how do we stay away from it? How do we guard against it, the misuse of it? Because the truth is anger has a place. You know, God is angry. God can get angry. We talk about that, but he always does it in the right way. I don't know about you, but when I get angry and I extract my anger, or I am going out to turn it, you know, I rip off, become Superman, and I'm going to go fix something. You know, we used to have a joke, you know, back when I was younger. I mean, you know, I had this alter ego called Road Vigilante, and when somebody cut me off, you know, I was going to go straighten that out, you know, and I'd play my theme music, you know, over the radio, and, you know, and I'd go straighten that person out. I'd go, you know, plot this super course. I had this superpower. I could sit here, and in my mind, you know, like a computer, I could plot like a super course to get past all that traffic and get in front of that person and slow down immediately to 15. That's just what was up, man, you know, but see, that doesn't work. Every time I exact my vengeance on someone, you know, or something like that, or in my anger, I'm going to straighten this out, I always seem to go either too far or not far enough. You know, God's the only one that can seem to hit it right on the dot every time, and I can make a bigger mess or never clean up what I meant to clean up at the beginning. And that's kind of how it works, you know, with anger. You know, the truth is that anger is a legitimate emotion. It has a place in our lives. I mean, Jesus was angry, and we know that he never did anything wrong. He never sinned. So if he can be angry and not sin, just like the Bible tells us in Ephesians, be angry, don't sin, we can do that too. You know, Paul wrote that in his letter to the Ephesians. But what does it mean? What does it mean? How does that look like, you know? I mean, what is the difference? Because anger, while it's a legitimate emotion, it's also a strong and overpowering one. And it isn't without danger as well. You know, the Bible has a lot of caution about anger. You know, Proverbs 15:18 says, a hot-tempered man stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel. You know, James 1:20 tells us very plainly that human anger does not bring about the righteous life God desires. That's just straightforward. Right there. This is not going to get you where God wants you to be. You're not going to end up in the right place if you follow that trail all the way. And I got to tell you, I've always had a little bit of a problem with anger. As a young football player, I remember, I know you can't believe it, but I was undersized. But, when I was a young football player, the coach would try to inspire me to, when I came against someone who was larger than me or maybe was more skilled than I, Jim, just get mad, take him out, get mad, get up, and that kind of philosophy was drilled into me in a formative time in my life, But, the truth is that doesn't work in real life. At all. But see, too many people, it feels like they've been given that philosophy, and that's how they handle their life. And the dangerous part is it just doesn't stop just in sports. It carries over. It's not as bad as when I was younger, but I'll be honest with you. I read verses like Proverbs 24, and 25, where it tells about don't make friends with an angry person or be around someone who gets angry really quick. And honestly, I've thought at times, some of my lowest times, I've thought, man, I just need to care more about my friends and just not be in their lives. I've had that thought. But see, that's crazy talk. That's not what God wants us to be with that. What he's trying to get us across to us is that we should approach anger with caution. Now, today we're going to talk about a story in Genesis 4 about someone who let anger kind of get too big in their lives. And you can look on, if you got your smartphone, dude, pull it up, jump on Baywest Wi-Fi, it's open. Try to get on a Bible app, look it on the Bible app. If you got your Bible, your book, go ahead, open it, look right there. I don't care, unscroll your scroll. I don't care what you got, just read it. Come along with me in Genesis chapter 4. If you have none of those things, don't worry, we got it on the screen. And I can somewhat read, so if you can't, I'm there. I got you back. So we're good, but I'm going to tell you this story right before we start into this. What we're talking about is Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, they gave birth to the first kids on the planet, Cain and Abel. And Cain was the oldest, and after him came his younger brother Abel. And as you can imagine, I don't know if you guys who have multiple siblings in your home, or maybe you've got a brother or sister, you guys aren't exactly alike. You're kind of a little bit different, and so such was the case with Cain and Abel. And you see it in their chosen professions. Cain was... Abel chose to tend flocks like a shepherd, but Cain, he liked to till the ground and plant stuff as a farmer. That was his deal. And at some point, they were bringing an offering to God. Not sure why they were doing this or what prompted them to, but they did. And Cain apparently went first, which is good. It's good to bring offerings to the Lord. And in verse 3 of chapter 4, we pick up the story. It says, in the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. And in verse 5 it says, but on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Well, for whatever reason, God didn't show favor. He liked Abel's offering better. In other words, what's up now? If you look at some translations, you realize that when it talks about the first of the firstborn, that's not just in time, but that also, when Abel brought the first of his firstborn flock, that meant he brought the best of what he had. And some people say that, look, Cain just kind of brought whatever he had. Abel brought his best, and that's why God cared. God was more concerned, showed more favor to Abel than he did to Cain. Whatever that is, we don't know, but we know what happened for sure is that Cain got angry. He was very angry, and his face was downcast. It showed on his face. I got one of those faces. My mother-in-law calls it my digital screen. If you want to know what I think, look at my face. I cannot hide it from you. If I'm sad, it's huge. If I'm mad, you're going to know. It's red, whole thing. If I'm happy, you're going to see it. If Alabama's winning, which is most of the time these days, I'm ecstatic. If you want to see my face, it's great. But that's what's up. He had one of those faces too, I guess, and he was downcast, and the Lord saw it immediately. And the Lord said to Cain, in verse 6, he said, then the Lord said to Cain, why are you so angry? Why is your face downcast? In other words, why are you mad? Why do you have mad face, man? What's going on? He said, if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. And as you know, that's the truth. That's one of the dangers with anger. Anger can take over a lot. Anger can attach to good things and make them bad. But here's the thing, is Cain didn't take that advice from God. He didn't heed it. And we get verse 8 here. It says, now Cain said to his brother Abel, let's go out to the field. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. And what we know from the story is that God went looking for him, and he looking for Cain, and he found Cain, and he asked Cain about it, and Cain tried to play ignorant with it. But God saw right through it. He wasn't having none of that, and he saw right through it, and he said, look, man, I know what you did. I know what's going on with you. And in verse 11, he says this. He says, speaking to Cain, says, now you are under a curse, and you're driven from the ground, from which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. And when you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Ouch. So here you're under a curse. You're driven from the ground, which opened his mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. Now, when you work from the ground, the stuff you do is no longer going to work for you. Man, have you ever seen a life change, something change in your life like that because of anger? When you got mad, or maybe in a relationship, and now the stuff you used to say that's cute is not cute anymore. Maybe you got mad at a boss, and now he's like looking at you with he's kind of looking at you out of the corner of his eye, and the jokes aren't funny. That's kind of some of the things that anger will do for you if left unchecked. So he goes through this situation, but I want to share some things about this story that tell us some things about anger. Okay, some truths about anger. The first one is this, anger asks the wrong questions. This is one of the reasons anger is a tough thing to deal with. You really see it in a lot of debates that I've watched. We've got this political stuff that we're watching. I mean, if you ever watch people on social media and stuff like that, when we should be asking, how do we fix this issue, we're often asking, how do we stop the people that don't believe like I do? And if you're not careful, you can get into that kind of mode. In a debate, it's less and less about how we can come together and find the best solution, no matter whose idea it is. And it's more about how can I shame or disgrace someone who disagrees with me so that I get to do things my way. That's the wrong question to be asking, but anger can lead us there. In Cain's case, the question he was asking was, how could he destroy his brother? Man. If you look on social media or on the comments, a lot of times people say, the comments at the end of articles, a lot of people say the devil's in the comments. I mean, you realize that there are a few groups of people that are mad in this world. Some of them are mad about the situation that they're talking about. But some people, those are actually pretty few, some people are mad about something in their life that the article reminds them of. The other thing, some people are mad because they're misinformed and they don't understand the situation. And for some people, it doesn't matter what it is, they're just mad. And you start looking around at this and you see this plague of anger. See, God asked Cain, why are you so angry? One of the commentators I read said, look, this was the first question asked to a person outside of the Garden of Eden. And it was by God. It's like, why are you so angry? Proverbs 15:1 tells us that a gentle answer can turn away wrath, but I also think sometimes an honest question delivered gently can do the same. And I think that's really the first question we need to ask ourselves when we get, when we're upset, even though it's the one that seems to get asked the least. I think when you start to feel angry, you need to start asking yourself, why am I angry? Before you do anything, before you say anything, why am I mad? I'll be honest with you, if you're a person who's dealing with an angry person, they need your ear more than they need your wisdom a lot of times. And a lot of times, the way you help them go, why are you angry? Is to ask them questions and hear them out. A lot of times, they'll say all this stuff out, and it'll just peter its way out, and they'll, like a balloon going out. And then you can speak and give them wisdom at that point. But what you see is these questions. God is still asking, and the truth is, God's still asking us a lot about that. Sometimes I believe. It's not because, why are you so angry? And here's the deal. He didn't ask Cain, but God didn't ask Cain because God didn't know why Cain was angry. God knew everything. God knew. He knew that Cain didn't know. And for a lot of us, we can never truly deal with the situation that we're angry about until we understand ourselves why we're angry. A lot of times we blame it on a circumstance. I can blame it on the computer. It made me angry. No. I can blame it on a person. Well, they made me angry. I'm like, really? Did they handcuff you and then march you into the anger room and turn all the red lights on and put on angry, just death metal until you got mad and ran over, I mean, how did that work out for you? No, here's the truth, okay? Anger for us is always our choice when we follow it. We may feel it as an emotion, but when we progress and act on it, that's a choice. When we act on anger, whether it's a long decision-making process or a split-second flare-up, and we need to be honest and thoughtful about how we chose it. Here's the second thing is anger not only asks the wrong questions, it takes you in the wrong direction, and it did the same thing for Cain. And one of the most dangerous things about anger is if it's left on its own, it takes you in the opposite direction of where God wants you to be. James 1:20, If you follow your anger and that is the driving force in your life, you're not going to have the righteous life that God desires for you, which is the best life for you. And here's the thing. Two characteristics of anger are this. First thing, anger attaches. Anger attaches. Now, anger has a way of attaching to other emotions, is what I mean by that. Justice, caring. We've all seen that. We've seen, then it can all, where it's attached to justice and then it becomes rage. Someone who cares so much and they get so frustrated with somebody, then anger takes over and then it's all about how mad they are at the person. And they don't seem to be caring at all. But it's not just attaching to positive emotions. It can attach to negative emotions and make it even worse. Think about attaching to things like selfishness or jealousy. A lot of times we can see that in our relationships, and that makes a bad situation even worse. Do you realize that you can deal with each one of those things without being angry and do it well? I'm going to contend to you can deal with all of them the best if you're not angry when you deal with them. Because see, when anger attaches, anger is something that signals a problem, but it's never meant to drive you all the way through a solution and continue. Anger is something that is a signaler. But here's the problem. At some point, you have to leave it behind to find the solution. But here's the problem. When it goes further, when it attaches to that emotion, it then overwhelms the emotion. Anger overwhelms. Anger takes over, and slowly you see it. Caring becomes uncaring. Justice becomes revenge. And it's not just good things, but it takes bad things and makes them worse. Selfishness, jealousy become violent and scary. And I think we've all seen this at some point in our lives. So often the most righteous of causes can have the most horrendous of endings, all because anger was the driver and took over. And we've got to be careful with that. Because it doesn't ask the right questions. It doesn't take you in the right direction. But anger also leads you to the wrong destination. Look at Cain. You see, God was trying to clue him in. It's like, dude, look out. You're getting mad. Sin is, you are right on the edge of doing something that you can't take back. God knew what was coming. And he's leaning in. Hey, look out. Watch out for this. He said, and Cain wasn't hearing any of it. Let's think about it. Why was Cain angry? Was he just competing with Abel? Was it because Abel had a better offering? Was it because Abel beat him and he was the younger brother? No, he wasn't mad ultimately because of those things. He was mad because the problem with him is he wanted his offering to be accepted by God. The problem was he chose it had to be done on his terms. It really came down to a matter of pride and acceptance. He wanted to achieve acceptance, but his pride got in the way. Didn't have anything to do with Abel, but it took him to anger and to ignoring godly counsel and godly help and to committing the first murder ever recorded on the earth by killing his own brother. Can you imagine? I want you to think Abel's situation. Either dude was clueless or what, but he said, hey, come on out in the field. Okay, let's go on out here. And can you imagine his thought process when Cain attacked him? What did I do? A lot of times people that we deal with, we get angry and we fly off the handle on them, and that's probably their thought process. What did I do? Because a lot of times what happens is we're mad at one thing and we take it out on someone else. Anger doesn't take you in the right direction. It doesn't bring you to the great destination or it takes you to the wrong destination. And you have to wonder, did Cain even see it coming physically or emotionally? I mean, did Abel? I know Cain didn't see what he was going to get. Cain wanted his acceptance from God, but his anger left him rejected. Think about this. He wanted acceptance, but he was rejected even more after he followed the anger. I want God to accept my offering. Now, I can't have an offering because I till the ground and it doesn't work. Now I have to leave my family. I have to wander around the earth. And that is my curse for following this. Ouch. That's huge. That's tough. That is tough to deal with. So many times in our anger, we respond in ways that become our legacy in life. You know, long-standing breaks or actions that end up changing the course of our entire existence on the earth. Maybe you're one of those people. I don't know. Maybe you are one of those people. Maybe you have lost it. Maybe you've made some huge mistakes. Maybe you've been like me and you've lost your temper at one time or another in your life, and you've said some things that you wish you could take back. Maybe in your lifetime, I think of me as a younger man, I'm like, boy, I wish I hadn't have done that, or I hadn't done this. Maybe you guys have those regrets in your past. And maybe, just maybe, you carry those around with you in your heart. And at your lowest days, even though you've asked God for forgiveness, the devil brings those back up to you, or you bring them back to yourself, not trusting the forgiveness of God. And you say, I'm worthless. I can't handle it. I'm not the one. Maybe that's you. Well, I have some good news for you, because the story doesn't stop there. You know, when Cain killed Abel and God banished him from the Garden of Eden, you know, when God banished him from his land, it was after that. Here's what Cain said to the Lord. He said, look, my punishment is more than I can bear. I mean, today, think about this. He wanted acceptance. But today you're driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. And then God said in verse 15, he said, but the Lord said to him, not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. And the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. If you feel like you're that person today and you have no hope, I want you to hear what God said to Cain. Not so. Not so. God still had grace for Cain. And God has grace for you, because though anger leads you to the wrong destination, God's grace allows you to start the journey again. You know, I tell you, the truth is, if you're a Christ follower and this is something that you deal with, you know, I want to give you an action plan where if you're a person who loses your temper, I want to give you an action plan for dealing with it. For first thing you need to do is you need to admit you're wrong to the Lord. And you followed the wrong thing. I know that's hard for some of us, just to say, you're right, I'm wrong. But that's where you start. Admit why you're wrong. Agree with God that He's right and that you could have handled things better. Resolve to try to live God's way under His control from that point on. That's the first thing you do with yourself. The second thing you do is you apologize to whoever you hurt. You make restitution if you can. And then you move on from there. You don't demand forgiveness. Your job is to offer a heartfelt apology and to try to change what you're doing in the way that you deal with them from the future. It is up to another person to forgive you or not. Some good things to do with that is to ask yourself the question that God asked Cain. Why are you so angry? And I wouldn't act on it until you can say with honesty why you really are. And I want you to think, when you go with why are you so angry, the next thing you need to ask of yourself is to go to God and say, what can I do? One, is this a legitimate thing that I need? Or two, and if it is, how do I achieve it, Lord? And you need to seek the Lord until He tells you how. It will always be in concert with the Bible. And the way you find that is in loads of ways. You spend time with God each day. You pray to Him. You ask Him. You shut up and you listen. It will always be in conjunction, and it will be coincide with His Word. And that's one of the reasons I say you need to spend time in God's Word every day. Working through that, because God will work you on a path through His Word and say, look, and He will tell you things that you need to know about the problems and the things that you deal with in your life. But not only that, God puts people in your place. This is why we have a church. Part of the reason is so, when I'm freaking out, I can go to Bruce, or I can go to Steve, or I can go to Katie, or I can go to Bill, whoever, and I can say, hey, I need some help in this area. And God may speak through them about your situation because they have different eyes on the outside, and they can see things that you can't see in the middle of it. Those are reasons we do that. So, you go through, you say, God, you're right, I'm wrong. Okay, I admit it, I'm not going to try that anymore. Okay, you go to the person, I'm sorry, I blew it, it's my fault. Don't tell them why they did it, and don't give an apology like this. Well, I apologize because you were a jerk. Don't do that. You can't make them take responsibility for what they did. You take responsibility for what you did. Look, I was a jerk. I lost my temper. It wasn't right. I'm sorry. You offer the apology. You make restitution if you can. And then you let yourself off the hook because God, you already worked it out with God. He forgave you. You can't force others' forgiveness, but God will always forgive you. And from there, you have to answer yourself, why was I upset? Is that legitimate, Lord? Okay, Lord, how do you want me to handle it? And you do that through prayer, you do that through consulting the Word, and through godly counsel of people around you. And when I say godly counsel, that's not just any Joe Blow that you know. It's people that you know the Lord and follow Him closely. That's who I go to for godly counsel. I don't go to godly counsel for somebody who I know has no relationship with the Lord whatsoever, or who's just funny, or who will. And here's what we do a lot of times. When we're upset, we want to be heard, so we go find someone that will listen to us and commiserate with us and want to go get a pitchfork and join us on our journey to go take out the person that we're angry with. That is the last person you need to be talking to when you're upset. You need to find somebody that loves Jesus, who is of a cool head, and if you don't have those in your life, you need to find them. And if you don't have them right now, you need to pray, dear Lord, please, I need somebody in my life who has a cool head that I can talk to. Those are some things you need to have, and you need to keep them on your speed dial, brother, sister, whatever. Those are the things that we need to be doing. But if you're a Christ follower, because I'm going to be honest with you, if you don't have a relationship with Christ, I can tell you all those things, and they'll work to a point. But if you're not following Jesus and you haven't given your life to Him, it's not going to help you. Not to the level that it needs to be. If you're a Christ follower, the place that you need to start first is to admit that you are a person who sins. Is anybody in here who has, raise your hand if you have never done anything wrong in your life? I ask that so many times. No one ever raises their hands. You know what that means? You are a sinner, okay? I am a sinner. You hear every week, I tell you every week, stuff that I did that was stupid. And if you don't know I'm one by now, hey, I am. So are you. You haven't met anybody on the planet. Being a sinner is not an insult, it's a reality. And that we need to all just accept and get past. Okay, I can't fly, I can't jump over the moon, I sin. Okay, there they are, realities of life. Okay, let's accept that. But I realize I have to do something to change it. I admit that I am a person who sins and that I can't get away from it. I believe that Jesus was the Son of God and He lived a perfect life, never sinned. And when He came here on the earth, and then when He died on a cross, that He paid the price for my sin because my sin demands a price. In a just world, it does. But Jesus lived when He committed no sin, and He died on a cross for us, and the resurrection from the dead that He made new life, that God made through Him, made new life possible for you and me. So I recognize all of those things, and from recognizing those things, I make the choice to follow Him for the rest of my life. I put Him and His ways first in everything I do, and if I screw up, you jump back to what I just told the Christ follower. I'm wrong. You're right. That was stupid. I apologize to you. I'm not going to try that anymore. Let me go find whoever I hurt. I didn't do that. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I totally blew it. I don't care what you did. It was my fault for what I reacted in that way. You trust Jesus to take care of them. You take care of yourself in what you did, and you move forward and you let it go and you trust the forgiveness of God in your life. Don't beat yourself up about it from now until eternity comes back. Don't bring it back up every other minute. Trust the forgiveness of God and move forward with your life. That's how you handle it. That's a great plan. And you know what? That plan works for anything. I don't care how bad it is. Now, you may have to deal with some consequences of your situations, but you make a choice to deal with the eternal punishment on your own when you don't follow Jesus and you don't repent, because he's given you two ways to straighten that out at any point in time in your life. The danger with anger is that it attaches. It asks the wrong questions. It leads you in the wrong direction. It attaches to good things and makes them bad, and to bad emotions and makes them worse as it overwhelms. And it takes you to the wrong destination. But the good news is that though anger takes you to the wrong destination, the grace of God can allow you to start a new journey at any point in time. Trust in that hope. It really is that easy.
Thanks for being a part of Bay West today. Bay West Church meets at 100 Emerson Road in Palm Bay at 11 a.m. on Sundays. Please feel free to check us out at baywestchurch.org, or you can follow us on Facebook at Bay West Church.